Okay, what's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to the Saturday edition of Morning Scone, presented by Brock, the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic. Y'all, tonight is the night. Brock, Rock, and Wine. You got your tickets yet? You coming to join us? E-Rock and I will be there. Hope to see y'all as well. South Stadium Club at Tiger Stadium. Live music, great food, tons of wine and other spirits. So we'll look forward to seeing y'all there. All the money raised goes to the Brock Foundation, supporting youth athletes, sports, athletic training programs for youth athletes in the greater Baton Rouge area. So we'll see you there for Brock, Rock, and Wine tonight. Of course, Parrish Construction and Roofing. Visit parrishbuilt.com. Unique Physique, semaglutide, tirzepatide, the once-a-week injections for weight loss. They got them, and they can do the whole thing over telemed. And if you're a new customer, by your first month, they'll give you your second month free. You want to find out what all the buzz is about? Here's your shot. Unique Physique. And, of course, Restored Motions and restoredmotions.com. Okay, y'all. We'll say some good mornings here. You'll see it there on the thumbnail. 7. So D1 Baseball put out their top 100 prospects for the 2025 draft. So an early list for next summer's draft. 7 LSU Tigers in the top 100. I want to point something out to you. Okay, so Chase Shores, who is number 6 on the list. All right. Now, I know a lot of fans, you've heard us talk about Chase Shores. He pitched very limited as a freshman towards UCL, had Tommy John, missed all of last year. But again, when you're 6'7" and you throw 100, you're going to be high on people's lists. So Chase Shores, again, number 6 on the list of the top 100 for next year's draft. The next one up is one that I'm gonna tell you I told you so, man. Danny Dickinson from Utah Valley is number 8 on the list. I know a lot of people looked and went, Utah Valley, you never heard of the guy, this or that. Number 8, the number 8 prospect in the country for next year's draft is the kid from Danny Dickinson from Utah Valley. So he is a plug-and-play day one starter. It's probably going to be your third baseman, replacing Tommy White if you keep Milam at second and Braswell at short. He's one to be really excited about. Bear Jones is number 41. Anthony Ianson, the pitcher, righty, from out in California. Anthony Ianson was number 45 on the list. Jacob Myers from Nichols, number 68. Luis Hernandez, the first base DH coming in from Indiana State, number 83. And then Cade Anderson, who's a draft-eligible sophomore, is on the list at number 90. So, that's just your draft-eligible prospects. That's not even including a guy like Milam, who's obviously going into a sophomore year, or Ashton Larson going into a sophomore year, or Jake Brown going into a sophomore year, or Derek Curiel, or William Schmidt. You can see why there's a lot of people really high on that baseball team for next year. 7 of the top 100 in D1 Baseball's top 100 prospects for 2025 are on the list. So, Bayou Splash yesterday for LSU, and by all accounts, a really productive day. We'll see if the Tigers net any commitments from the Bayou Splash. The news that kind of seems to be trending a little bit is that's so good. Yeah, you're starting to see a lot of the pictures come out on Twitter and everything. So Shea Dixon dropped a couple of predictions after the Bayou Splash. One guy that seems to be trending is Jamichael Garrett. Jamichael Garrett's a linebacker from Gulf Shores. He's a top 150 prospect in the country. He's a top 10 linebacker in the country. And it's down to LSU and Auburn. He was at the Bayou Splash yesterday, and now today he's headed to Auburn for a visit there at Auburn today, and he'll make his decision soon. So LSU might pop another linebacker, so we'll see. Keelan Moses was there, so a lot of people have had a lot of anxiety about Keelan Moses sometimes. You just go take your visits. It's what it is. Fully expect that he's going to be, in the class. But in any event, all right, let's say some good morning. Smash that like button if you're on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel, Facebook, like the Matt Moscona page, share the post. We appreciate y'all for being here with us as always. Got the Parish link pinned to the chat. So with all this rain going around, if you got roof issues, give us a shout. Parishbuilt.com. Parishbuilt.com. Parish is pinned in the chat. Okay, let's say some good mornings here. Chance Babin, curious, since you started doing Locked On again, have you had to do more research for your shows or no? No, Chance. I mean, it's one of the advantages I have is because I'm doing AFR every day. So a lot of the things that I'm talking about on Locked On, I'm also talking about on AFR. It's just that AFR is a 3-hour show where I talk about LSU and the Saints and the Pelicans and the SEC and other nationally relevant topics. So for Locked On, it's really like just 20 minutes of my LSU content just condensed. So it's just packaged differently. Like if you just want my LSU stuff, Locked On LSU, you could always go to my AFR LSU YouTube channel as well and see our AFR videos, which is going to be a little more long form. But if you want it all like in one nice little tightly packaged, tightly produced package, I should say, Locked On LSU is a great place to go. But thanks for the question, man. Murder Giraffe, good morning. Strong Side, good morning, Mr. Telly. It's a Sesame Street reference. James McKinney, good morning. Brett DeGrow, Jesse Post, Brian Penn, good morning from Wytheville, Virginia. Do you think Brian Kelly can reel in that receiver from Utah? Good question, Brian. Hoping so. So he's talking about Jerome Miles, who's a 5-star out of MYLES, by the way. 5-star out of Utah, 6'3", 215. He's thought to be a very heavy Utah lean. Ole Miss was in the mix as well. Now everybody's gotten in the mix. Texas A&M. So he's in the composite, the number 10 wide receiver in the country in the composite. But LSU's throwing their hat in the ring, and with the way LSU pumps out receivers, having Bryce Underwood already in this class, they have swung big, man, at receivers. They've gone for Corian Moore as the number 1 receiver, Khalil Lockett, who's the number 3 receiver, Jamie French, who's the number 4 receiver, Derek Meadows, who's the number 7 receiver, who they have committed. Miles is the 10th best receiver. Remember, C.J. Wiley's the 14th best receiver. He's going to Florida State. Teron Francis is 20th. He's from Edna-Carr. He's committed. So they're not done at receiver. They'll probably add a few more guys at receiver in this class. So it would be awesome if they could get Miles. If they do, so keep in mind, LSU's already got 6 players in this recruiting class for 25 that are the number 1 player in their state. Harlan Berry in Louisiana, Bryce Underwood in Michigan, Damian Shanklin in Indiana, Carius Kern in Arkansas, DJ Pickett in Florida, obviously, and Derek Meadows in Nevada. Whoops. Hey, you want to come say that show? Go. He'll be back. His backpack will beep soon, and he'll be back. All right, Brad David, good morning. Cameron, good morning, Matt. I guess that's stevia. Or what's sativa? Sativa and cappuccino or stevia? I don't know what sativa is. And cappuccino for me this morning. Excited for tonight's UFC PPV. I think we're going to have for UFC 307. No, not 307. It's 305, yeah. So August 17th. So I think for that August 17th, when Duplantis fights Adesanya, I think we're going to have another one of our watch parties, location TBD as of right now, but excited about that. So hopefully we'll see a lot of y'all there. Hey, Kelly Gross, good morning. Rocky Killian, good morning. Brian Wynn, would up. Jonathan Martin, good morning. Melody, morning, Matt. Mike Tirico gave Mondo Duplantis a shout out when Sweden's boat went by last night during the opening ceremony. He said people in Louisiana and especially LSU know this name. There you go. How about that? With the world watching. Melody, my feeling on Mondo. I mean, I don't love that he's competing for Sweden. It's not my decision. It's his. He can do what he wants in his life. But he was born in the United States. Went to high school in the United States, went to college in the United States, competed at LSU. May get his mother's Swedish, but I don't love that. I could never imagine competing for another nation. I mean, if I had the opportunity to compete for America, I think it's different with like Aaliyah Finnegan, for example. Aaliyah Finnegan was not going to make the United States gymnastics team. So she had an opportunity to compete in the Olympics because her mother is Filipino, so she could compete for the Philippines. Awesome. Go do that. You should go compete in the Olympics. Anyway. But yes, great shout out for Mondo and for LSU. And he's awesome. Mondo's awesome. He's the best ever. GameCube Gamer, morning, Matt. I'm curious, is both Jake Brown and Cade Anderson draft eligible? Cade Anderson is. Jake Brown is not. Breezy Bro, Woodoop. Abner Neal, good morning. Impatiently waiting to see which recruits commit. We'll see if it's today, Abner, but it feels like they're trending for a couple. I don't know this, but it really feels like Aiden Anding, the corner from Ruston, will pop. They really feel like they're going to flip that wide receiver from Destrehan, who's committed to Michigan. So, if they get the linebacker from Gulf Shores as well, a lot of good stuff coming down the pipeline. Hi. Hey, you want to come say hi to Dad's show? Huh? Come say hi to Dad's show. Everybody wants to see you this morning. Come see everybody. What? He gone? He just ran away? He keeps coming to my door and then just turn around and running away. Daddy. Right. Tony, do you think if Kendre Miller is out for an extended amount of time, Saints reach out to Fournette? That's a good question, Tony. If I'm Fournette, I don't know. That would be awesome. I mean, for him to play for the Saints. I'm not so sure I'd be opposed to that either way. You got obviously Kamara, Jamal Williams, and Miller. And Fournette says he's in shape and he wants to play. If I'm Leonard Fournette, I certainly don't want to be in anybody's training camp. I want to play games, but I don't want to be in training camp running through preseason. But there are far worse places you could be in training camp than out in Irvine, California. But if it does persist, if they run into a snag, that's a really interesting option. Hey, Drew, you want to come say hi to Dad show? Come say hi to Dad show. Drew, he keeps getting closer. Dad, hey, come say hi to Dad show. Thank you. Oh, my baby. Van. What do you say?
Hi, Dad.
You say good morning. You say good morning.
Good morning, Dad.
Good job. Okay. I love you so much. You slept so good. You slept till 9 o'clock.
Really?
Okay. Nah, he gone. We got a short visit there from Drew. Let me get back to my spot there. Breezy Bro, what up? Sorry. Oh, where? There we are. Sorry. Chuck Bro, good morning. Hope all is well. Dale Broussard, 4:45 here in Hawaii. Dale, why are you up at 4:45 a.m.? I wonder if you just have some jet lag, or is it just your circadian rhythm, your body clock? You just up there because 4:45 in the morning. I'd be sleeping, man. I wonder, is it daylight? What time does it get daylight over there? Glad y'all had safe travels, Dale. Thomas, morning, Matt. Only one of the 7 was a full-time player last year in SEC play, Jones. Next year's team will look very different. Can't wait. I just think it's interesting that no matter how many times we talked about the recruits and the transfers that LSU was getting, it was a lot of, only small school, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. And Danny Dickinson's the number 8 player in the draft for next year. Anthony Ionson's number 45. Jacob Myers, 68. Luis Hernandez, 83. Come on. Luke Mitchell, good morning. Brody Ray, morning, Matt. We met in Atlanta 2 years ago. My cousin is married to Mark. Okay. Yeah, man. Harper's awesome, man. That's my cousin Mark Mumford, and he married Harper Ray Mumford. They got 5 kids now. Got to see them last weekend. I'm fired up for them, man. Beautiful, beautiful growing family. They had 3 girls and then have now had 2 boys. So I got to meet the baby last week. So we had a big, big family gathering. All of the what is sativia? I guess I need to see what is sativia. I don't know what that is. That's got to be he means stevia, right? It's got to mean stevia, right? I don't know what sativia is. I just Googled it. I don't think it's really anything. Uncle Hudak, good morning. How's the family? Morning, Drew, my main man. Think the Bayou Splash this weekend should get us at least 5 commits. What do you think? Well, I mean, do you think that LSU is going to get 5 commits this weekend? I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, do I think at least 5 players who are at the Bayou Splash end up at LSU? Sure. And I think a lot of players that were there already committed. Like, I'll tell you, I'm very excited and hopeful for someone like Jamie French. Jamie French is a 5-star receiver, the number 4 receiver in the country, like top 10 player. But I mean, like, look at this. So Harlem Berry was there. He's committed. JT Lindsey's committed. Derek Meadows is committed. Tyler Miller, Carius Kern, Dame Shanklin, Zion Williams, Brandon Brown, Charles Ross, Keelan Moses, DJ Pickett, all committed. Jace Thomas. So the uncommitted guys, that's just the 25 guys. You had, Jakeem Stewart for 26 was there. Chris Henry, who's a 5-star wide receiver, the number 1 player in the country for 2026 was there. A 5-star offensive tackle, Jackson Cantwell. Bryson Martinez was there as well, at a EA. But Jamie French, Phillip Wright, the Michigan wide receiver commit from Destrehan was there. Mike Tyler, the tight end out of South Carolina, was there. Aiden Anding, who we mentioned. Anquan Fagans, and then Jonah Williams. I need to see about Jonah Williams. I thought I saw somewhere. I need to confirm if he was there, because there was some. I saw somewhere where he might. Okay, it looks like he was there. I thought I saw tidbits. Okay, no, there you go. So he rescheduled his visit to next week. Okay. And then Jay Johnson went in home with Jonah Williams this week. So let's go. Cliff, it was a business decision for Mondo. You'll have to explain that to me, Cliff. I don't really understand how that's a business decision, because regardless of what nation he represents, he's going to get endorsement deals from Puma and all the other things that he gets. And I would actually argue that in the United States, there's a greater opportunity in this country. It's a wealthier nation. Anyway, you'll have to explain how that's a business decision. Bubba, good morning. Green Z, morning, Matt. I saw that someone reported Jonah Williams no longer coming to this weekend. Do you know if there's any truth to that? Yeah, so just talked about that. So apparently, according to one report, he pushed his visit to next week, but Jay Johnson, just what I just read, was in home with them this week. Tommy, I would actively root against my brother if he didn't choose the U.S. to compete in. I don't care where mom is from, you're American. I kind of feel the same way, Tommy. Maybe that's, he has dual citizenship, so he is Swedish as well. Like he is a Swedish citizen. But I'm with you, man. You're born here. You lived your whole life here. You spent summers in Sweden, but you went to school here. Yeah. John Hendricks, good morning. Earl, good morning. Brian Penton, appreciate that, man. Abner, morning, Drew. You are lighting your dad's life. He is, Abner, every single day, man. Trivia Carter, the nature boy. Trivia, what's up with the name changes? And I did tweet the episode for you today, Trivia, so you got the notification. Wendell, what's going on? Brian Wynn, prayers for Ed Daniels for a full recovery from heart attack experience yesterday. My goodness. I didn't see that Ed Daniels had a heart attack. Ed's such a good guy, man. I just saw Ed at Media Days last week. Wow. He's in Irvine. Wow. Yeah, I just saw, that's George Faust. I saw that on Twitter. Wow. Yeah, man. Absolutely. Throw some prayers for Ed, man. He's a very good guy. Always been very, very nice to me, man. So definitely prayers for a full recovery there. Earl, how's the rookie first round offensive tackle looking for the Saints? Who dat? Yeah, so he's Taliese Fuanga taking all the reps at left tackle so far. It's just so hard to tell with linemen until they put pads on. They will do one-on-one drills with offensive and defensive line, and you get to see things like hand placement and foot speed and stuff, but it's so hard to tell until they put on pads, man. They're doing it for real. You can learn a lot with corners and receivers and your skill guys and everything, but until they put on pads, I don't think we'll know for sure. But the fact that he hasn't, look, I'd be more concerned. I'll put it this way. I would be more concerned if they hadn't put on pads yet and he was struggling. You know what I mean? Let's see. Ryan Dixon. What's up, Ryan Dixon? Thoughts on 1792 12-year and Sweet Wheat? I love pretty much everything that 1792 has put out. 12-year. I know those are more like the unicorn bottles. I prefer the Sweet Wheat over the 12-year. Actually, I don't know if you can see right there. That is a 12-year right there. I don't know if I have a Sweet Wheat. Nope. I don't have Sweet Wheat. I've definitely had Sweet Wheat before, but I don't have a bottle right now. That's back there. It's a foolproof barrel pick. It's a single barrel and a small batch, and then the 12-year. So yeah, no, I think everything 1792 is really good. Right. Joseph DeFulco, morning. What is Philip Wright ranking as a receiver? I'll tell you right now. Philip Wright is listed as a 3-star, number 4 in the composite, number 420 nationally, the number 69 receiver, the 12th best player in Louisiana. His highest ranking is from On3, which ranks him as the 49th best receiver in America and the 13th best player in Louisiana. No, I'm sorry. Rivals has him as the 11th best player in Louisiana. So I know we can look at that and maybe you're just not impressed, but it's one of those things where look at his offer list, and sometimes like he's got Michigan, Georgia, LSU, Baylor. That's obviously Dave Aranda ties from having been here. Mississippi State, Texas A&M, Miami, Missouri, Auburn, Penn State. I mean, he's got like big time offers, and sometimes it's one of those things where a guy starts to develop later in his career and then sees his recruiting rankings start to escalate. I think that's going to happen with Philip Wright, obviously, since he committed to Michigan. And then I think the same thing is going to happen with Aiden Anding as well, the corner from Ruston. Those are two players that very clearly are going to see bumps in their rankings as they go through their senior year. Joel Ensminger, sativa is a strand of weed. Oh, y'all know? I guess y'all know. Okay, there it is. So the guy was drinking a cappuccino and smoking weed. Got it. Okay. That's what he was saying earlier. I have no idea what that is. That's my point. I'm not a pothead. Don't do weed. I might have had a gummy once or twice in my life, but that's about it. Never smoked marijuana ever in my life. Never really been around it much. So whatever. Rocky, Matt, my girls are in Lafayette this weekend. I'm home alone and lost. It's too quiet. Enjoy the peace and quiet, Rocky. I know. Sometimes we want the hustle and bustle. Obviously, want to be around the people we love, but man, sometimes when it's just quiet, I can just close my eyes. Like I love to drive home in the silence. Like turn the radio off and just drive home in total silence and just be with my thoughts or talk to myself. You know, it's so rare during the day I get that, man. I mean, people are in and out of my office all day long. My phone rings and pings all day long. So when I get those moments of silence, a lot of times it's in the car driving home. I really value them a lot. Or my workout time in the morning before anybody else is awake, I value that a lot. So enjoy it, Rocky. Ryan landed all 3 bottles of Heaven Hill Grain to Glass Collection, cracking tonight. Get ready for hunting season. Look at you, Ryan. That a boy. We still have a trade to make, don't we? Thought we still had a trade to make, you and me. Kyle Vaughn, morning, Matt. Will you and T-Bob be doing whiskey and wine again this year? Of course. How about the USC game specifically? Of course. So we are going to be doing whiskey and wine. We will be at Don Juan for every game except USC, and we are already sold out. Big shout out, Home Field Apparel and Got Lit Light Installer. So Got Lit and Home Field have bought the entire season for whiskey and wine already. So it's very nice when you're more than a month before the opener and the show's already sold out, which is awesome. So thanks to all the sponsors. But yeah, so we will be at the MGM Sportsbook in the Mandalay Bay for all of our shows in Vegas. So for our Friday lineup, now Ott and Hanny are doing their show at I think it's Circa on Friday. Don't quote me on that because Ott did his own deal. But we are we'll be at Mandalay Bay. So inside the MGM Sportsbook at Mandalay Bay, they've got a studio that they're letting us borrow. So we'll be in there for our lineup on Fridays, for pregame Sunday, for whiskey and wine, and Handy's postgame. So looking forward to it, man. Cliff, I met his grandparents, and they shared with me that he is a rock star in Sweden. Can't walk in the airport without security. He could walk through the Mall of Louisiana without anybody recognize him. Makes sense. Your endorsement deals are still going to be the same. And if you're living in the United States, then whatever. Whatever. Okay. Shout out to Brock. Y'all, Brock Rock and Wine is tonight at Tiger Stadium. It's not too late to get your tickets. You get them online at brortho.com, brortho.com. Eric and I will be there. Hope to see a lot of y'all there for Brock Rock and Wine tonight. Of course, Parish Construction and Roofing, parishbuilt.com, parishbuilt.com. Trivia. I love Ric Flair. Got it. You have to have heard my story about meeting Ric Flair. Met Ric Flair. It was when it would have been NBA All-Star Weekend 2018. Oh, look at what I just found. Oh, oh, my little boy. Oh, my little baby. They always got to grow up and get bigger, huh? No. Look who else I found on my phone randomly. The legend, Ted Peterson. I don't know who took that picture, but anyway. Where was that? Maybe 19? What year was the All-Star game in New Orleans? Well, I'll find another time. Anyway, it was 18. Anyway, I met Ric Flair when I was emceeing for First Take in New Orleans, and he was backstage, and the nicest guy, man. He and his fiance were there, just sitting backstage, drinking coffee. Got to talk to him for a bit. We talked about basically everything but wrestling, and he was just a nice old man. And then whenever they introduced him on First Take, and he came out, like they opened up the curtain and he came out onto the set, and like it was like he was transformed into the Nature Boy. It was one of the most incredible things to just turn it on. I mean, he turned it on. Like it was just like a light switch. And all of a sudden he wasn't the old man backstage with arthritis drinking coffee and talking to his fiance and all that stuff and all of us. He was the Nature Boy. It was incredible to see. I mean, a true showman. Unbelievable. Dustin just picked up a bottle of 1792 Foolproof yesterday. Looking forward to it tonight. Packs a punch, man. It's a really good bottle, though. Chance, I want to be excited about the Saints. It's hard with DA and Carr and Loomis. I don't blame you, man. You know, I think I mean, the reason for optimism, as I've shared, is number one, you're in a bad division. Number two, you and the Falcons have the easiest schedules in the NFL, according to opponent win-loss percentage from a year ago. Number three, like I still think your defense is going to be good. I mean, Dennis Allen is a good defensive coordinator, and you should be competent defensively. So can you figure out your offensive line shuffle and find a few playmakers offensively? Maybe Clint Kubiak replacing Pete Carmichael, inject some new life into the offense. Maybe. I mean, that's the glass half full, viewpoint. There's a glass half empty viewpoint. I think that's where most people lie with this team after you've missed the playoffs 3 consecutive years and your Vegas win total is projected at 7.5. So against that schedule, right? So we'll see. Rick Kelly, Matt, Jay Johnson's the best college baseball recruiter, but could we say he's the best recruiter in all of college sports? Maybe. I can't tell you I know everything about every recruiter in all of college sports, but if you're the best in your particular sport, then yeah, I mean, you're in that conversation. You'd have to give a lot of respect to Kirby. Christian, football is just over the horizon, and Herb Street just announced Nick Saban's joining game day. Good days ahead. Yeah, saw that, man. And McAfee's back. They've gone through a little contract dispute whether or not McAfee was going to be back on game day. He is. Corso's back again. Nick joining. So, yeah, man. Be a lot of fun. It's almost here. Barry, good morning. Good morning. Morning, Scone fam. Just here for the good time and proper grammar. What are your thoughts on the Oxford? Get out of here. Jeff McKiffin, good morning. Luke Byard, Matt, we doesn't really make you a pothead. Got it. Oh, no, that's fine. Ryan Dixon, still got my Weller 12 for you. Okay. I think we had talked, it was Stag, right? The artist formerly known as Stag Jr. Stag Jr., right? Stag for Weller 12, I think was our trade. I'm down. Brody, Matt, do people realize most of Perk's sacks in 22 came from the spy position off the edge? I think it being inside will make the scheme more multiple. I think I trust Blake Baker. I am not worried about them finding ways to use Harold Perkins to rush the passer. I think he's going to do that. We've seen him in 2 seasons do that effectively from different spots. So I'm not really worried about that. I'm more concerned, as bad as you were last year against the run, without proven interior run stuffers, And Perkins at inside backer, which I don't know if he could play. I don't know if you're going to be strong up the middle again. And if you're weak up the middle again, that's a real cause for concern, man. So, you know, it could really help Harold Perkins on the interior. Gio Paez, Jacoby and Guillory, Sean Washington. I mean, if those guys on the interior of the defensive line really improve, then I think, you know, that helps, you know, free up Perkins a little more to go be the guy I think we all think and hope he can be. You know, I don't know what we're really going to expect from Kimo Makanaioli. You know, Jalen Lee's a fifth-year guy now. You know, from Live Oak, went to Florida, now transferring in. Sean Washington from JUCO. You know, you got some beef in there. You know, Don McKinley coming in. They got him listed at 6'6", 316, man. I mean, I think it's just you're gonna have to find stability and production on the interior of your defensive line. I'll keep saying, y'all, I think LSU's defensive ends are going to be really good. I think Braden Swinson obviously was really good off the edge a year ago. Paris Shand is a really good player that played both inside and out for you. I think Savion Jones, 6'6", 280. God, he's impressive at left end. People are really high on Deshaun Womack. I think you're good at defensive end. I'm excited about the freshmen too, man. Watching some of those guys, Kalaj Cobbins, who's light, but I think he's going to be really good as a rusher off the edge. Gabe Relaford. I mean, Gabe Relaford was winning reps against first and second teamers in spring. I mean, as an early enrollee from Evangel, I mean, they've got some guys at end. I think they're going to be good at defensive end. I just really, really worry about them at defensive tackle again. Like, I just got to see it. Ryan Dixon, I hold the Weller 12 for you. Okay, been a while since I've been to BR. Let me know, man. Nothing better than college football and bourbon hunting season. Fall is great. It's almost time, man. It doesn't feel like it when it's July and it's 100 degrees outside, but it is almost here, man. A lot of Sunday nights watching Sunday night football in the back patio with a whiskey and a cigar. So looking forward to those days again, man. Luke, Matt, you should make your own whiskey, Moscona Trace. It's Moscona. I know the vowels get everybody, but like Buffalo Trace. Or so you're saying I'm a Buffalo? What would we call a Moscona whiskey? What do you think there's a question for you. What would we call a Moscona whiskey? Like who's was it Chris Stapleton who's got the Traveler because he got a song about the Traveler or whatever, so he calls it Traveler. I don't know what we'd call it. But, you know, I might be interested in doing we talked about this before, and finding a barrel and doing like a barrel pick. I don't think I would produce my own whiskey, obviously, but that's a really expensive proposition and one I don't have the time or the tolerance for. If I was independently wealthy and had nothing but time and wanted to embark on that, sure, but I'm not, and I don't. So I would not be opposed to buying a barrel, though. I'd have to find. I don't think they'd sell a barrel. I don't think you can sell because I've looked at. I think I talked to Taylor Calandra about this once. I don't think like that a distillery would sell a barrel to an individual like for resale. Like you would have to go through a licensed retailer. So like I'd have to go to Calandro's and do a Moscona barrel pick through Calandro's or through Rouse's or something like that, right? Which I'm not opposed to doing. Obviously have a great relationship with, when we talked about this whenever I endorsed Sazerac back in the day, but Sazerac had a whole reorg of their entire company. And so it changed, our relationship with them, but we're trying to build that relationship back up with the new folks up there in Kentucky. Had a good convo with them actually at the UFC fights over at LeBerge. But and then obviously I got a great relationship with Luis over at Old Elk, so we could probably do something with Old Elk as well. And their juice is great. So anyway, I'm not opposed to that. Brad, are you gonna have Russ Mitchell on again during football season? Of course. You think we'd actually go football season without talking to Russ? Did you see the Kill Tony episode with Ric Flair? I don't even know what Kill Tony is. Sorry. Well, 12 for Stag Jr. Got it. Done. Good. Kyle, awesome. Thanks. While I'm optimistic about the USC game after having been snake bitten the past 4 season openers, I got to make sure my coping mechanism of whiskey and wine in place. We'll be there, man. Dominant McKinley. Kids got to play meaningful snaps. Maybe. I don't know, Luke. I don't know that I want to be counting on a true freshman on at the line of scrimmage. And people say, well, Will Campbell did it. Yeah. And that's like the first time ever. You know what I mean? Like, it's not ideal to have to count on a true freshman in the SEC on the line of scrimmage. I think the best case scenario is like 5th year senior Jacoby and Guillory, 6th year senior Gio Paez, 5th year senior Jalen Lee, 5th year player JVR Suggs. Like, give me all these dudes that are 22 and 23 instead of the guy that's 18. Like, let those guys play at a high level. That's what I'm kind of hoping for. Ryan, what other bottles are you looking for outside of BTEC stuff? Man, Ryan, at this point, my brain isn't even there right now, I'd have to take inventory. During the summer, quite honestly, I drink so little whiskey. It's just so hot that I just don't drink a lot of whiskey during the summer. When we get in the fall and football season, and then obviously the holidays and everything, that's whenever, it's hunting season. That's when I drink the most whiskey. So I don't know. I really don't know. I'd have to take inventory of what I'm looking for. Luke, this may be baloney, but I've heard Dylan Carpenter's pretty good. He's a scholarship player at LSU. And of course he's a good player. But I do think they're good at defensive end. Tate Granger. Morning, Matt. What happened to the segment you used to have with Mike Detillier? No, you spelled it right. On AFR, he always had good insight. Yeah, man. Love Mike D. So Mike took the job at doing afternoons on another radio station. So we're on at the same time now. So that's why. Dad Show whiskey, a Scone Cold Reserve, a Parish whiskey. We have talked about doing a Parish beer, maybe like trying to reach out to people over at Parish Brewing and doing a collab with them. Parish is a good idea, though. Justin, shout out Tim Gotro. What did Tim Gotro do? Brian, what distillery, if you had a choice, would you choose for barrel pick? You only have one choice. I would go for one of the Wellers. Like if I could do a Weller, like a Weller foolproof barrel pick, that'd be awesome. I obviously have a great relationship with Old Elk, like I mentioned, and I've always enjoyed my Jefferson's Ocean wheated barrel picks. What, baby? Gary V's last name is Gary V. Vaynerchuk. Okay. Ray Woods, do you have a game coin update? Let me circle back on that, Ray. I know that David and another one of the board members meet with the developers every Wednesday. And the unfortunate part for me is Wednesday is my busiest meeting day. I have meetings stacked on Wednesdays from like 9 a.m. until usually like 1 p.m. I mean, it's just meeting. Like Wednesday is just a day where I am just totally snowed under. It's just so my point is I don't get to sit in on those meetings on Wednesdays. But let me follow up. Let me see if I can hit up David and get a recent update. Bobby Boucher's lawnmower. What is the way too early scouting report on USC? They're a lot like LSU, man. Awful defense a year ago. They blew out their defensive coordinator, replaced him with DeAnton Lynn, who is the defensive coordinator at UCLA. Good coach. They're losing a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback in Caleb Williams, like LSU's losing Jaden Daniels. Miller Moss is their quarterback that's replacing Caleb Williams. Obviously, a really good play caller in Lincoln Riley. And moving into the Big Ten, that's a big challenge. Let's see. The win total for Southern Cal this year, they got them over under, is that right? 7.5. I mean, my goodness, if that's current. Wow. 7. USC's projected win total 7. I'm telling you, man, I think USC and UCLA are really, really going to struggle going into the Big Ten. UCLA's 5. I mean, it is just such like they're moving into a different world schedule wise, and neither team is particularly great to begin with to take on that schedule, and the travel and everything associated with it. You know, and SC, keep in mind, on top of the Big Ten schedule, they're playing LSU and Notre Dame. So, like, you're playing 9 league games plus LSU and Notre Dame. It's 11 Power 5 games. I mean, it's just, they are not set up for success this year. So they open with LSU, then they play Utah State, then they're at Michigan. Oh, they get a bye week 3, then they're at Michigan, Wisconsin at home. They go to Minnesota, home against Penn State, cross the country to Maryland, home against Rutgers, to Washington, home against Nebraska, at UCLA, which is obviously in LA, and then they get Notre Dame at home. So at Michigan, at Minnesota, at Maryland, at Washington, at UCLA, LSU neutral site. I mean, their true home games are Utah State, Wisconsin, Penn State, Rutgers, Nebraska, Notre Dame. Tough, man. Casey Catanzaro, is there any doubt Moses goes somewhere else? Is there any doubt that he goes somewhere else? I don't know. I think you might be asking the question wrong. I think the way you ask it, that would be assuming that he is going somewhere else. I do not believe so. I think I keep saying Dylan. Keelan Moses will be an LSU Tiger. He's been one of the flag bearers of this class. I know he took visits. I asked him about that whenever he was in studio with me a couple months back, and he's point blank was like, told me he was going to take visits and was going to bring his little brother because he went with Dylan on visits and was a good experience for him. So I'd never fault a young guy, especially in the portal era, for taking your visits, developing those relationships, and seeing what's out there. So no problem whatsoever with Keelan Moses taking visits. Brock Rockin' Wines tonight, y'all. And of course, remember Parish Construction and Roofing, parishbuild.com. You can get your tickets for Brock Rockin' Wine at brortho.com, brortho.com. Live music, food from restaurants all over town, wine, and it's in Tiger Stadium, in the South Stadium Club. It's going to be awesome venue. We look forward to seeing y'all tonight. Of course, Parish Construction and Roofing. Visit parishbuilt.com, parishbuilt.com, and Unique Physique, uniquephysique.com. Semaglutide, tirzepatide, once-a-week injections to help with weight loss. You've heard about it. So many people are on the weight loss shots. You've heard about it. This is the place to go. Unique Physique, uniquephysique.com. You can do the whole thing telemed. So if you don't want to go in and meet someone face-to-face, you can do the whole thing via telemed. So check them out at uniquephysique.com. Bama is burning whiskey. Not bad. Armani Hayes, it's crazy how we tied the SEC record for pitchers drafted when we did have a Sunday guy for most of the season. A down year is still a record year. Ryan, nervous about the USC game. Think a lot of folks think we will win. This feels like the UCLA game. Hope LSU doesn't come in overconfident. Yeah, the biggest difference, and you're right to be on edge because LSU's lost 4 straight openers. That UCLA team was actually pretty good. They were very veteran. They had Chip Kelly, who's a great coach. I mean, you had a senior starting quarterback, a 4-year starter in DTR. Zach Charbonnet, Michigan transfer running back, was obviously very good. The tight end killed LSU that day. That was a good team that was well coached. LSU was not well coached. I mean, that was Ed Orgeron, and your coordinators were. You had a coordinator that had never called plays before on offense, and a defensive coordinator that hadn't been a defensive coordinator in more than a decade, and that was at a Division II school. Ladies and gentlemen, the Ed Orgeron experience. You were horribly coached. They were talented and well coached. You were not prepared. The last 2 years, last year, Florida State was obviously a very good football team. And the year of the Superdome, it took LSU a long while to get going from what Brian Kelly inherited. So I do think LSU, although you lose a ton, it's probably better off than USC. You're certainly a better coach than you were prior. So we'll see. Tara Walker, good morning. West Bank boy living in Memphis. Need to get my LSU gear before the season starts. Should I plan a trip to BR, or is there an online source you recommend? Polo shirts. Yeah, man. I think so. It depends what you're looking for. You can obviously get stuff online. You can get anything online now. Bengals and Bandits does really great stuff. Highly recommend. If you want t-shirts, we got funny one-off shirts at 929misfits.com. But yeah, and if you just want like the coach's sideline pair, like the Nike gear, you can get that virtually anywhere. Any of the big box retailers will have that. But if you want like more boutique like stuff that you won't find everywhere, I would recommend Bengals and Bandits. Any good news on the football recruiting weekend? Not yet. No commits yet. Brett, anyone see Gajira perform at the opening ceremonies? That was one of the coolest performances. Was that? I did not watch the opening ceremonies. I was on air, I think, during most of it. But when it came home, it was like the Olympics in prime time or whatever. So we had it. I wasn't watching, but it was on TV. Was that the woman who was singing and then the piano was on fire? Singing Imagine, right? Because I heard Imagine. I was like, oh, someone's singing Imagine. And I saw there was a piano on fire. Good morning, Matt. Have a great weekend to see Tommy White cut his hair. I did see that. So the A's posted a picture of him signing his contract. He had on a sport coat and he had cut his hair. It was a weird look. Weird to see Tommy White with short hair. Brian Penn, Yellowstone, the series, made a shout out to Sazerac. Cool. Ham, Buffalo Trace. Steve, good morning. I heard that success of an individual season doesn't necessarily affect recruiting. With this monster 2025 class, how important is it for LSU to have success this year? Steve, usually if you talk to recruiting people, what they'll say is because you start building a class like the year prior, that season's results typically don't like. So, for example, the 2024 season won't necessarily matter for the class of 2025. All these guys that are currently committed, Bryce Underwood, Harlan Berrield, like they're committed, they're locked in regardless of what happens in this season. Typically, this season is what builds for next recruiting class for 2026. And I remember because I learned this lesson back in 2008. Obviously, LSU won the national championship, and off the national championships, they started building that great class. Well, 2008 was a really tough season, but they still ended up with the number one class in the country. And that was the class that was being built during that championship run. Tampa Bay, check. What's going on? Fanatics is a good place for merch, yeah. Brad David, if USC has a bad year, is Riley on the hot seat or is his buyout too high? I think USC is wealthy enough as a private institution that they're probably not super worried about a buyout. But a really disappointing season, I think you'd start to have that question depending on who might be available. It was the metal band. Oh, I did not see that. It was dope. I did not see that. Sorry. A lot of people defend Ed for whatever reason. What's your overall opinion of Ed Orgeron's career? Armando, do you really not know my opinion of Ed Orgeron's career? Yeah, man. I mean, I think Ed is a great recruiter and a great defensive line coach. I think he was a disaster as a head coach. He was a disaster at Ole Miss. He was a disaster at LSU. And I know everyone says, well, how can you say that? They won the 2019 championship. And the point I always give people is, yeah, Larry Coker won a national championship at Miami. It doesn't mean he was a great coach. That 2019 roster was an NFL team playing college football. And he does deserve some credit for building that roster. But a lot of the guys that were the key players on that team were guys that were recruited by Les and his staff that Ed inherited and that grew up through his tenure there. I think Steve Ensminger just like Dave Aranda was your defensive coordinator. Ed hired Dave Aranda, or Les Miles hired Dave Aranda. Steve Ensminger was your OC. Les hired Steve Ensminger. I mean, Ed Orgeron was the head coach. Les hired Ed Orgeron. And I don't want to give him zero credit. I mean, even how you got Joe Burrow was this. Gordy Lyndon Rush III was just this incredible, stars aligning scenario. When Burrow, I know I've told the story before, and you believe what you want, but when Burrow was leaving Ohio State, he was going to Cincinnati because Luke Fickell had been on staff at Ohio State, was the coach at Cincinnati. So Burrow was going to go to Cincinnati. The reason Burrow took a visit to LSU was because of Bill Bush, the safeties coach. Bill Bush had worked with Jimmy Burrow in the past. So that's how LSU got a visit, was Bill Bush. And you say, well, Ed Orgeron hired Bill Bush. Kind of, but not really. Dave Aranda, when he was flirting with A&M, it was the year that they allowed the 10th on-field assistant. And one of Aranda's conditions of staying was he wanted to be able to handpick the 10th assistant. And he wanted to split corners and safeties. So Corey would coach the corners, and he wanted to bring in a safeties coach. So Dave Aranda picked Bill Bush. And Dave Aranda was the reason Bill Bush was here. And Dave Aranda was here because Les Miles hired him. So, and Damon said Orgeron hired Brady. Joe Brady's influence on the 2019 LSU Tigers is one of the most overstated and overrated things from that entire season. Joe Brady did not call that offense. Steve Ensminger called that offense. Steve Ensminger is just a one-off of a guy, a unicorn in a profession littered with dudes with massive egos, where Steve Ensminger didn't care at all about credit. Didn't want credit, didn't want to do interviews, didn't want people talking to him. He didn't care one flip that Joe Brady got credit. So, I mean, as evidenced by, look at what happened to Joe Brady when he went to Carolina to be a play caller. He knew what he was doing. He got fired after a year and a half. Let's not say he'll never be good, but even when people at the Saints were asked about Brady, they were like, you mean the guy that used to get us coffee? Anyway. His sample size is what it is, man. It's nothing personal against Ed. I don't have anything personal against Ed. I don't even know Ed Orgeron personally. I know him professionally. press conferences and all that stuff. He and I have never sat down and had dinner. We've never sat and drank coffee together. Like, what? I've got nothing personal against the guy, but I gave my opinion on him, man. And you could look at what happened. Like, he was terrible at hiring assistant coaches, at trying to maintain culture and order. I mean, anyway. Miracle Martinez, hit the like button. Thank you, Miracle. Appreciate it. Ryan, what's your thoughts on landing safety Jonah Williams due to his love of football and baseball? I think LSU's got a great shot. Jay Johnson, we talked about Jay Johnson was in home with him earlier this week. And then he was supposed to be at Bayou Splash, but put that off. He'll be in Baton Rouge next week. So see how it goes, man. A commitment coming in less than a month. Armani, I agree wholeheartedly. People call me crazy when I speak facts about Ed. I guess they love that he was a Louisiana guy. It's true. I mean, that's the thing. People loved Ed because I was just like, because he's from here and he was one of us. And that just never mattered to me, So, Damon, look at what happened to Ensminger. What do you mean, look what happened to Ensminger? I mean, Steve retired. I'd say look at what happened when Steve retired. Steve Ensminger retired, and Ed hires Jake Peets, who had never called plays. He hired Jake Peets on the recommendation of Joe Brady. He called Joe Brady and said, who could run this offense? Jake Peets. So he just hires Jake Peets, who's never called plays. He was looking for a defensive coordinator to replace Aranda. He calls Pete Carroll. Who should I hire? He says, you should hire Bo Pelini. So he hires him without ever interviewing the guy. He acknowledged he never interviewed the guy. Like, never interviewed the guy. So I'm never doing that again. Like, what do you I mean, when he hired Matt Canada, he hired Matt Canada because part of his pitch when he got the LSU job was that Lane Kiffin was going to come with him to be his offensive coordinator at LSU. And Nick Saban put a stop to that. And so Ed needed to make a splash. And so he went and hired Matt Canada, having never even met the man. And it was, Panamsky kind of did the search for who they were going to look for in Canada. It was a guy that, been run out at NC State and was at Pitt, and they had a good offense that year at Pitt. And so he hired him. Like, anyway. Like, I don't know. Like, Damon, I don't know what this means. Like, what are you laughing at? Like, I really don't know what you're laughing at. I mean, these are facts that I'm telling you. These aren't opinions of mine. These are facts. I mean, Steve Ensminger retired. After the championship season, he coached one more year in the COVID year, which was obviously just a terrible thing all the way around. And then he retired. And Ed Orgeron hired Jake Peets, who had never called plays before. LSU hired an offensive coordinator that had never called plays. And they hired a defensive coordinator in Durante Jones that hadn't been a coordinator since 2009 at a Division II school. Now, this is the one thing that this is the one, and I've said this many times, Kyle. Agree about Ed overall. He gets credit for making a good pitch when Burrow visited. Yes. I have always given him credit for that. That Ed recruited his behind off with Burrow. And that was Ed's superpower, is he was a great recruiter. And so he found the relationship, and it was with Joe's brother, Dan, and Ed stayed on Dan. He knew he had the hook with Dan, and he stayed on Dan to keep working on Joe. And Ed worked his behind off for that. And I've always, always, always given him credit for that, for that component. But just getting Burrow onto campus to visit was this star aligning thing that didn't happen without Bill Bush. Bill Bush didn't happen without Dave Aranda. Dave Aranda didn't happen without Les Miles. You know what I mean? So, got it. Laughing at Orgeron hiring people without interviews. Right. I mean, but he did that routinely. Like, say what you will about Les Miles, and Les certainly had his flaws. But Les was fantastic at hiring assistants. I mean, Les hired Steve Ensminger as his tight ends coach. Les hired Corey Raymond. Les hired Ed Orgeron. Les hired Dave Aranda. Les hired Kevin Steele. Les hired John Chavis when John Chavis was still like the one. He hired Gary Croton. The one real miss for Les was the co-DC thing in 2008. After 1 year, he moved on, fixed in a hurry by bringing in John Chavis. Like, Les hired great assistants, man. Les's fatal flaw was he could not let go of the offense. He and Cam Cameron were in lockstep on that thing, man. Justin, Matt, why are some fans going at you over ripping Bama? I don't know. It should get credit for the binder. You know, with all of it, though, with everything that went on with it, I would still take Ed again if it meant getting 2019. I mean, 19 and Burrow, and it was just so special. Like, I would take all of the bad for that amazing season in a heartbeat. Les hired Cam Cameron. I mean, they were awesome in 2013. Mettenberger, Jarvis, Odell, Jeremy Hill. That was a record-setting offense in 2013. And then in 2014, you had Anthony Jennings and the young Brandon Harris. You were too young a quarterback. And look, you were great for the start of 15, remember? You were 8-0 until you went up to Bama and ran into a stone wall with Fournette. And then 2016, he was gone 3 games into the season. This is true. 2008 shook Les to his core. It's true. I mean, he talked about it so often. Like, he was just never going to lose that way again with the interceptions. That's why I've often said, like, Ryan Perrilloux is the biggest what if in LSU football history. If Perrilloux is your quarterback in 08, Les probably never goes into the 3 yards in a cloud of dust tank. If you have Perrilloux, because Perrilloux would have been a 4th-year player, would have been your starter, would have given Lee time to develop. You know, the greatest what if, obviously, is what if, or you could look at Bo Ryan, his tragic death, and what if Bo Ryan had been LSU's coach? What if Nick Saban never leaves? And then, Perrilloux getting kicked off in 2008. Yes, also gave us the sissy blue shirt moment. Justin said, what if we would have hired Tom Herman? You know, Justin, a lot of people laugh at that. And the thing that I think most people overlook is Tom Herman had a good run at Texas. The expectations Texas had for itself were like, this is what people forget about Tom Herman. And by the way, I saw a lot of the research that LSU had done on Tom Herman and why he was their number one choice. He was their number one choice. He was mighty impressive, man. Anyway, like, I was sent links from administrators, but like presentations he gave at coaching clinics and stuff like that. And it was impressive. Anyway, so Tom Herman at Texas. Remember, he inherited a disaster from Charlie Strong. They went, let me see, 2016. They went, so they were 5-7. Okay. So he inherits a team that was 5-7. They go 7-6, 10-4, won the Sugar Bowl. Next year, they went 8-5. That was 2019, right? So that was the year when LSU beat them there. And then in the COVID year, he was 7-3. They were 7-3 in the COVID year, and he got fired. I mean, his record at Texas was 32-18. Like, they weren't bad. I also think if Tom Herman would have inherited, I actually think the bigger question, well, we are going down like a really like existential hole here, but I think the bigger thing is if you had actually hired Jimbo in 2015 when they had that thing at the finish line. What I think 2016, this is the point of the big misconception that people had is that Les left Ed a dumpster fire, which is not the case. Think about the roster in 2016 that Ed Orgeron inherited. You had your running backs were Leonard Fournette, Darius Geis, Darrell Williams. You had 3 NFL running backs. Your receivers were Malachi Dupree, 5-star, DJ Chark, NFL receiver, Russell Gage, NFL receiver. Your tight end was Foster Moreau, NFL tight end. Your offensive line included Ethan Posick, Will Clapp, Maya Tehuma, who was a 5-star, was really good. Joshua Booty, and there's one more I'm missing. Your defensive line, you had Davin Gottschall, Arden Key, who was an All-American that year. Lockature was a veteran player on that team. Your linebackers were, you had Lewis Neal on that team as well, who was a really good college pass rusher. Your linebackers were Kendall Beckwith, Duke Riley, Deion Jones. Your cornerbacks were Tre'Davious White, Dante Jackson. Your safeties were Jamal Adams and John Battle. Like, the 2016 team probably should have won the national championship. Now, your quarterback was Brandon Harris, and then obviously lost his job to Danny Etling, and that was the big bugaboo. But, like, what if you were actually running an offense that was conducive to Brandon Harris's skill sets? I mean, my point being, if Les had gotten fired in 15 and they actually hired Jimbo, and that was the team Jimbo had, with a more competent offensive coach, yeah, man, I think it would have looked very different for Jimbo in Baton Rouge. I'm not saying, like, he might have derailed it the way he did in College Station, all that stuff. But 16, if you had hired Jimbo at the end of 15, I think 16 would have been fascinating. Justin, is it true Saban tried to come back after Miami? I think there were always, I don't think there was ever a realistic opportunity, no. I think he would have if the opportunity had presented. But the opportunity was never there. Ryan, you have to have dinner with one O or Joe Oliva. Oh, God. I guess O. I just don't even respect Joe Oliva as a person. So, and again, I have nothing personal against Ed Orgeron. I just know Ed Orgeron doesn't like me because of the takes I had while he was a coach. Joe Oliva tried to make my professional life miserable. He's just I just don't respect him at all, professionally or personally. Tommy, if I'm not mistaken, Sark and Herman have the same win-loss record or close to it. Herman had the great years at Houston. You know, it was 13-1. They won the Peach Bowl. I'm looking at here. Then they was 9-3. Then he got the Texas job, and he had a good run at Texas. It was 32-18. It just wasn't. It was so weird that, I mean, they went 7-3 in that COVID year and fired him after he went 7-3 in the COVID year. Sark, was he 32-18? Sark at Texas he went 5-7, 8-5, 12-2. So he's bumped up. So in his time at Texas, he's 25-14. So see if you can sustain it in the SEC, man. Damon Gilmore, good morning. Let's see. Sark getting fired soon. I don't know, man. See how he does. Joe Oliva booed walking out of the PMAC describes him perfectly. Yeah. David Bass, good morning. Swee, Saints question. Since all these injuries are mounting, I'm afraid DA gets a pass. No. He ain't getting a pass. If they go sub 500 again and miss the playoffs again, he's getting fired. Justin, Matt, I know I'm switching gears. How good is a softball recruit that's coming from Florida, maybe the number one pitcher in America? I wish I knew more about her. I can't say that I'm super focused on it, man. I apologize. Okay, y'all have an awesome day. Brock Rock and Wine tonight. Hope to see a lot of y'all there. Oh, it's 11 a.m. already. Hope to see a lot of y'all there. Come up and say hello if you make your way out to Tiger Stadium tonight for Brock Rock and Wine in the South Stadium Club. So it's air conditioned, of course, not like on the field or anything. But great views of the field. On one side, you like from the South Stadium, you're looking at the field, like toward the north end zone, PMAC, downtown bridge. You get a great view of the city. On the other side, you get a great view of LSU's campus. Live music, be great, man. Hope to see a lot of y'all there tonight. Brock Rock and Wine, brortho.com. And of course, Parish Construction and Roofing, parishbuilt.com, parishbuilt.com. Y'all have an awesome day. Hope you have a great Saturday, man. So best to everybody and your families. Hope it's a great one. So be good. Peace.